Session is Grand Herald, Worshipful Brother Mark Law. Leading the escort is the Grand Director of Ceremonies, Very Worshipful Brother Frank Lombardo, who's followed by the Deputy Grand Director of Ceremonies, Worshipful Brother Tony Del Nevo, and the Assistant Grand Director of Ceremonies, Worshipful Brother David Elwood. Directly behind them is the Grand Standard Bearer, Worshipful Brother Graham Oldfield, who's carrying the Australian flag. Following them are the members of the 2001-2022 Grand Ceremonial Team and the Senior Grand Lodge officers led by the most junior of their rank. Acting as the past Grand Master for the quarterly communication is Right Worshipful Brother John Patterson, past Deputy Grand Master, who's escorted by Worshipful Brother Alex Michaelidis, Senior Grand Deacon, and Worshipful Brother Mark Vincent, Junior Grand Deacon. Right Worshipful Brother Peter Julia, past Deputy Grand Master, is the acting Grand Director, Grand Master, and he's also escorted by Worshipful Brother David Game, Senior Grand Deacon, and Worshipful Brother Robert Clant, Junior Grand Deacon. At the end of the line of the Senior Grand Officers, the Junior Grand Warden, Right Worshipful Brother John McTaggart, and he's followed by the Senior Grand Warden, Right Worshipful Brother John Rodrigo.
Principal officers upstanding.
Upon the ceremony of installation. Very Worshipful Grand Director of Ceremonies, you'll announce to the Grand Master-elect that we are ready to receive him.
Most Worshipful Brother Richard Lewis Elkington is the 47th Grand Master of the United Grand Lodge of Victoria. Such is the seriousness of his undertaking, he will reaffirm his formal obligation in front of all present to uphold, maintain the principles and tenets of the landmarks of the Order. The escort masters today are the Worshipful Master of the Albert Edward Lodge, Worshipful Brother David Demick, the Worshipful Master of the Old Scotch Collegians Lodge, Worshipful Brother James Stewart, the Worshipful Master of King David Lodge, Worshipful Brother Boaz Neumann, the Worshipful Master of Mount Scopus and Collegians Lodge, Worshipful Brother Mark Klaus. And the escort masters who are acting as cushion bearers are the Worshipful Master of the Geelong Lodge of Unity and Prudence, Worshipful Brother David Webb, who will be carrying the Grand Master's apron, and the Worshipful Master of the Sandringham District Lodge, Worshipful Brother Robert Gardner, who will be carrying the Grand Master's collar and gauntlets. Carrying the Deputy Grand Master's regalia as cushion bearers will be the Worshipful Master of the Seaford Lodge, Worshipful Brother Clinton Hodgart, who will be carrying the Deputy Grand Master's apron, and the Worshipful Master of the Lodge of Evolution, Worshipful Brother Christian Wood, who will be carrying the Deputy Grand Master's collar and gauntlets. The escorting Grand Stewards today are Worshipful Brother Ari Indra, Worshipful Brother Kevin Holden, Worshipful Brother Ken Dashwood, Worshipful Brother Archie Alvarez, Worshipful Brother John Chabib, Worshipful Brother Alf Woods, Worshipful Brother David Bilton, and Worshipful Brother Adam Domovsky. Arguably the most important member of a Grand Lodge ceremonial team is the Grand Sword Bearer, who leads the way for and protects the Grand Master. Today, the Grand Sword Bearer is Worshipful Brother Gary Liu. Carrying the standard of the United Grand Lodge of ancient, free and accepted Masons of Victoria is Worshipful Brother Philip Baravecchio.
Most Worshipful Past Grand Master, the Grand Master-elect is ready and waiting, but it is your pleasure to receive him.
Very Worshipful Grand Director of Ceremonies. You'll admit him and conduct him to the east near the pedestal.
Escorting the Grand Master is Worshipful Brother Geoffrey Fraser, Senior Grand Deacon, and Worshipful Brother Carl Donadio, Junior Grand Deacon. Leading behind the escort is the Grand Herald and Grand Director of Ceremonies. And behind him is Worshipful Brother Tony Del Nevo, the Deputy Grand Director of Ceremonies, and Worshipful Brother David Elwood, Assistant Grand Director of Ceremonies. Lord Huntingdon was the Grand Master from 1935 to 1939. In his honour, a collarette jewel was struck and is worn by every Grand Master during his term of office. The jewel is studded with 12 brilliant diamonds and has a value in excess of $25,000. You may see the past Grand Masters wearing this jewel, but they're only a replica of the original. Make sure that you keep an eye out for the original jewel that the Grand Master will wear. Just in case you're thinking about souveniring it, remember, the Grand Sword Bearer has a very sharp sword and is charged with keeping the jewel safe, just like the Grand Master. So far, no Grand Sword Bearer has lost either a jewel or a Grand Master. I think that's why it's considered by so many as being the best and most important job in Grand Lodge. Seriously, Freemasonry is an organisation of good men supporting each other, their families and the community. Freemasonry promotes friendship, participation in the community, benevolence, self-development and ability to participate in 300-year-old ceremonies.
Most Worshipful Past Grand Master, be known unto you in all free and accepted Masons that Most Worshipful Brother Richard Lewis Elkington has been installed as Most Worshipful Grand Master of the Free and Accepted Masons of Victoria, and are hereby commanded and charged to render unto him perfect submission and due homage. And I now proclaim him Most Worshipful Grand Master and call upon you to greet him with grand honours 9 times.
The Grand Master is entitled to 9 of these grand honours, to which he will acknowledge the reception of those grand honours by giving a sign of fidelity.
Thank you, brethren, for those gracious salutations. I return to each one of you my warmest fraternal greetings and bid you well.
Be seated, brethren.
The Grand Master, having been re-obligated, reinstalled and reinvested with his regalia, and is ready to take up the duties of his office. Although the installation of the Grand Master takes place every 12 months or so, the Grand Master will normally perform his duties for a period of 2 years. Given the tight COVID restrictions over the past 24 months or so, it was voted on at the quarterly communication last year to extend his term to 3 years in office. Of the previous Grand Masters, a number of them have a background in politics, the legal and court system, policing, information technology, business, and have even made a name for themselves in car racing, as has our installing Master today.
Be seated, brethren.
Historically, the role of the wardens on a worksite or workplace might be seen as the senior foreman. They are considered to be important deputies to the Grand Master. Each year in Grand Lodge, the Junior Grand Warden is often selected from the country region. This year, the Junior Grand Warden and the country component of the Grand Lodge team are from the Central Highlands District. Right Worshipful Brother Bruce Cowie, the Grand Secretary, commenced work on a full-time basis on January 31st after the handover from the Acting Grand Secretary, Most Worshipful Brother Don Reynolds. The staff are now working in the office on a roster system, and any questions regarding the restrictions around COVID should be directed to the Grand Secretary rather than making assumptions. It is paramount that we both comply with the rules as set down by the state government, and we make every effort to provide a safe environment for our members. It's official, membership is up. Freemasons Victoria has reversed the decades-long decline in membership numbers, and interim figures now indicate that 333 new Freemasons joined the fraternity in 2021. The current membership is 7,461.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, I present to you following brethren for investiture as Grand Officers for the ensuing 12 months. Right Worshipful Brother Bruce Cowie as Grand Secretary. Right Worshipful Brother John Glover, Grand Chaplain. We want. Worshipful Brother Archie Alvarez, Grand Steward. Worshipful Brother Emmanuel Barakas Barbuses, Grand Steward.